Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to discuss security for application delivery. When we look at a PaaS model, the applications that we develop is typically done in the platform as a service model using web services, and therefore we need to take a look at how to secure resources. Even though platform as a service resources are typically shared responsibility between us and the customer and the cloud provider. In this case, Microsoft is the cloud provider, and we know that platform as a service allows the easier deployment of the web and the mobile applications because we don't have to manage the infrastructure. That's a Microsoft job, but we have to still secure. Microsoft is really done a great job in securing the portion of environment from their end that they are responsible for them, for their hardware and networking, etc. We have to secure everything else apart from the hardware and the networking. So this lesson talks about all that best practices that we can adopt in order to secure our applications deployment in a PaaS model, that's a platform as a service model. So let's talk about some best practices for securing platform as a service applications. We need to adopt a policy of identity as the primary security perimeter, not the network area, which I'm talking. Back in the old days when we own everything which is sitting on our own office, that's a local office, or maybe on your own data centers, or maybe hosted centers in a private networks, we had a network perimeter that was our boundary. So that's once we define that network boundary, that's where we are trying to protect it. That was we had to manage in terms of managing access and unrestricted access to our environment. Well, that primary security perimeter of does not exist anymore because platform as a service model introduced the applications are meant to be consumed from anywhere, and that security was completely taken care by Microsoft. So we have to adopt a policy that our primary perimeter needs to be identified. So now the next layer would be the identity here. That's what we are trying to talk about it. And how does this identity come into play? So well, if we look at how this gonna work, it's definitely Azure Active Directory, especially with specific to the users and the groups and the roles and the permissions, things that we talked in the Active Directory specific lectures, so that you can secure your secure keys and credentials to secure your platform as a service deployment. Where do you think we would store all these keys? So we talked about in the previous lectures about the users and the groups, also the secure keys that are registered within the app registrations, and also we talked about the keys that we wanted to save it instead of the having the password to be expressed everywhere. Instead of that, we talked about to secure those keys. If you remember, in the almost in any section we talked about the Azure Key Vault services. That's where we talked about securing our best practices to store in our key vault, like securing keys with the secrets and the keys, so that it will be stored and it will be pulled without actually storing in your application code. And the third best practice would be the manage our PaaS resources directly whenever it is possible. So what does it mean by that? It means we need to protect our VMs with the management interfaces like hybrid PaaS or maybe infrastructure as a service by using the management interface that enables us to remotely manage those VMs directly. If you remember, we talked about these things with the help of like if you try to connect any of the VM with SSH or RDP or PowerShell remoting, extra things that. So we will be strongly recommending that if those interfaces are not required all the time, so just use the just-in-time VM access. Configure your virtual machines with Security Center from the Security Center as the just-in-time VM access, so that you would actually control access to those interfaces in a way that decreases the attack footprint by not allowing those interfaces to be open all the time. And the next point would be the using the strong authentication and authorization. Definitely authentication and authorization comes to the Azure Active Directory. And if you remember, we talked about the Azure Active Directory conditional access, which allows us to implement additional security measurements based on our location and sign in risk, and might require our users to use something like multi-factor authentication to access our resources. This is what we have configured in fact, and we try to learn within the Azure Active Directory specific from the security by going to the security, and then you can configure additional configurations like conditional access as well as the multi-factor authentication and the name locations, so that we secure our Azure Active Directory, our resources to authenticate. And coming back to other point, web applications firewall. This is another topic, or we can call it as a WAF, or in short WAF, or web application firewall, which we can discuss here. This is the web application firewall, which can be configured on your application gateways, so that it can secure your Azure resource to protect with vulnerabilities. And if you just go to web application firewall or WAF, you have here the WAF v2. This is where you need to configure, and you can prevent detection, or you can go through the detection methods, and you can add your own custom methods to detect any of the size, upload size, or other parameters that you wanted to configure. That's how you can actually configure this web application firewall to secure your web applications, because the application gateway is the almost, it behaves as the NLB kind of thing in the front end. So you can use them to secure your application firewall. The next most important point would be the monitor your app performance. So we can also do by using the web applications performance with the application insights. So let me go back that specific window, and you have here the application insights. We can use this application insights to monitor your applications, whether they are available, if they're available, what's their current workload, all that. You can, for example, you can add a test so that you can check for the monitoring specific to that web applications that you have. So you can ping to that specific web URL. If it is down, you can get alert automatically. If it is not the status code 200, then you get an error. So such things can be configured, and also you can configure even the location specific configuration, so that your applications are available across the different regions or different locations, and their availability also can be monitored from application insights. And the last topic of this lecture would be the performing penetration testing. So you can use tools like Microsoft Security Risk Detection. This is a cloud-based tool that we can use for bugs and other security vulnerabilities in our software before we actually deploy. All of these best practices and great way of which we can secure our platform as a service environment and applications by using all these best practices. This is how we are going to secure our platform as a service applications and implement our security validations for our application developments and our application development environments. That's all for this lesson. I hope this is useful for you. Thank you for watching this.